everyone, it is time to start our final row of cupcakes from this lovely Colours of Christmas book by Nikolett Delafraye, and we have one here. Let's have a little look. Sorry, I'm breathless. I just ran up the stairs. I was talking to my son in the kitchen. He's just having his breakfast. I asked him if he could open all the windows up. I'm just going to do these little Christmas trees first on the cupcake case. They're cute, aren't they? I think I'm going to go for a hooker's green. Polychromos, by the way. I don't know if you can even see the name. It helps if I turn it the right way around. Yeah, I asked him to open the... Yesterday it was 30 degrees, very hot. Today is much, much cooler. But everyone... It's going to sharpen. Was struggling with the heat yesterday. Everyone... I was okay, although I got a bit sore throat today, so I don't know if I wasn't drinking enough. But everyone apart from me had different things going on where they were struggling through the lack of heat, either dehydration or overheating, things like that. So I want to get the house cool. What happens with our house, I'm just going to fiddle with the paper behind the page, is that it seems to take a day to change temperature. So if we have a really, really hot day, for example, the house stays pretty cool until the next day, and then it seems to warm up. It's really weird. So I want to make sure that today the house gets cool, because it was 30 degrees, well, maybe 28, 29, I don't know, yesterday. And today is supposed to be 21. Huge, huge difference. So I want to try to get the house to cool down quicker. So two of the residents are still sound asleep. It is only 8:15, actually. So you're experiencing my morning voice. And so I'm just trying to decide what to do here. I quite like the idea of doing red and green, but maybe we'll do some different shades. Let's do a red in the background. I know we've already done a red, but it just feels right for Christmas. So I'm going to use this deep red, and I'm just going to use it behind the trees, nice and easy. I'm not going to make it darker on the edges. I'm going to probably do like I did with the last one, where I put a bit of sepia or something on after. I might do that. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, so last night I opened up as much as I could, but it's really difficult to be able to do that enough in this house, because the ground floor you don't open up at night in case someone tries to break in. Although our windows lock open, and we were assured by the fitters that no one would be able to get in, but he said don't leave them open because someone might try and get in, and then they would still bend the window even though they wouldn't be able to break it open. So we don't leave the ground floor open. Then the middle floor, this room, I can't reach the window because the desk is in front of it. So this is shut. It's only a little window. The hallway window I left locked open, but in the sitting room we only have French doors. I just can't leave those open, particularly the one on the balcony, which is the critters can get up there and in the house. They haven't ever, but I'm not going to give them the opportunity, so that had to stay closed up. Our bedroom also only has French doors on, but I opened one of them behind the curtain and had a little gap in the curtain. There was a bit of breeze on me all night, which was rather nice. Although I was very, very late going to bed. I don't think I went to sleep till 1:30. It's only 8:15, I know. I was awake at 6:30. Ooh. But there were, people, as I say, weren't well. So I was dealing with various family, not feeling a bit under the weather, trying to look after people. This is pine green, so it was all a little bit tricky, but it was fine. We got there. I know they wouldn't be sitting on a green, but I don't want to make this mud, because that just look a bit there, for want of a better word. So we'll make it more festive, make it green. Yeah, so I was very late, and actually, my husband went to sleep first. Then my son, on the same floor as me, I could hear him snoring, so he went off to sleep eventually, so that was good. I think he was okay, really. Once he sort of got into bed, he was feeling better, but everyone else was sort of fapping about, making noises, you know, sort of flapping about, as I say, you know, different things. So it was just not good. So he couldn't really settle. Now I'm going to make this one the darkest red, I think. The dark red. But anyway, then my son upstairs, he was the one that was feeling most off. His light went out eventually, and then I was sort of dozing on and off a little bit when I noticed his light went out. But there was so much noise outside, because you've got the door open, you can hear everything. So someone came back with a blaring radio, so loud I could hear every word in their car. It's like, my goodness, you must be deaf. I don't know who it was, whether it was someone who lived here or not. I had no idea. Or I was like, is it someone having a takeaway in the middle of the night? I don't think so. Right, we have stars and dots. What I'm thinking is I'd quite like gold stars and silver circles. We've done gold circles before, we haven't done silver ones. That'll be a little bit different. But what are we going to do with our icing? Are we going to make it red and green? I quite like that, red and green. But we want it sort of paler, because icing, well, like a bit like buttercream. What would red buttercream? Let's grab the pale geranium lake. That's quite a nice pale red, and do a little bit of this. And I'm just going to put it on really lightly and just see if it works. I don't know if I think it's okay, but I don't know if I'll be able to tell until I've done it all, so I'll just keep going with it for a bit. Then, yes, after the noisy car, it arrived. The person locked the car, heard it go beep where they set their alarm. I heard them walking along, and then they turned around, and they went back to the car, and they unlocked it again, beep, and then drove off. And then they came back about 5 minutes later. I was like, what's going on? They must have forgotten something. I don't know. It was very weird. And then just after that, I heard a group of girls walking up the road. They must have been to a club, because it was way past pub closing time, unless they'd been visiting someone. Clickety-clackety heels going up the road. They was yapping really loudly. That's not as bad as the night before, although it wasn't as late. Night before we had a car alarm. Then the pub had music. Could hear the beat. It was okay, because it was just a sort of because it was the same sort of rhythmic beat all the time. I could sort of switch off to it, you know. And then there was someone went up the road on a skateboard. Oh, how loud was that? Ooh. And then a big group of blokes walked up the road, permanent green. I mean, people obviously live up the road. It's not as bad as when I used to live on a road which was in between town and most of the houses outside of town, on that side of town. You know, we were right on the edge of town. And see, now, because we're tucked down in a no-through road, only residents come down the road, so it's not so bad. But this used to be terrible. You used to get everybody used to come past after closing time, and then once the clubs threw out even later, you get it all over again. And then you would also get the they would be knocking into the car, mirrors and things like that, you know, sometimes keying cars and things. Not too often. It wasn't a rough town, but you know, when people have a bit to drink, they get a bit silly. It was really just silliness. It wasn't really nasty vandalism, you know. I quite like that. I don't think I'd eat it. It looks a bit, I don't know, fluorescent, luminous. Food colourings would make me hyper. Right, cold grey 4. We're going to do these circles as if they're silver balls. I'm procrastinating doing that cakey bit. So I'm going to just do a dark line and a slightly lighter line around here. Yeah, so sort of used to living in fairly noisy places, although that house that I was just talking about, I used to sleep out the back. Our bedroom was in the back, the sitting room was in the front, so it's only if you were up in the sitting room you'd really hear it. if you were in bed. There was a garden at the back, so it was quiet at the back. We were quite lucky, actually, that place. Wow, I remember that place. It was reasonably-ish close to London. It was a commuter town to London, although it was Coldgrey 3. It was about an hour's commute on the train, but we were like 5 minutes walk from the station. I missed one, didn't I? Let's go back to the previous grey. And I didn't used to work in London though, but I used to work in the town. I used to jump on the train and go to work. Coldgrey 3. I loved going to work on the train. Anyway, yeah, I remember it was. Let me think. It was just after we got married. Got married in 2000, and our rent was £200 a month. Can you imagine? And that was for a 2-bedroom ground floor apartment. It sort of was, because there was a flat upstairs as well. The house had been converted into 2 apartments, and we had our own front door. There was a sort of porch which was shared, and then we had our own front door. And we had a hallway, sitting room, kitchen with room for a big table in it. 2 bedrooms, this is Coldgrey 2, and a bathroom with a bath in. The shower was no good. It only ran cold water, but bath, we used to manage with a bath. And yeah, the bedroom out the back wasn't very good, but our flatmate used that for a bit, and then she moved out. And we had a back garden with a shed, walnut brown, lots of lawn which we had to mow, and a bit on the front as well behind the wall. It was a very typical London suburb, London outside home county suburb townhouse with a brick wall and a gate on the path, and so it had a little bit of a yard behind the brick wall which we had sort of bushes and things in. So it was pretty good. And then our landlady gave the house to her father. This is the bistre. We're going to do our next little bit on our stars. And because she owed him money. And he took over the house, and our flatmate had some mould growing in her room, and she asked him to investigate, and he did, and it found out that in her bedroom in the back was an extension on the house, on the property, and basically, green gold, the carpet had been glued onto tiles on the floor, and the floor tiles had no damp course underneath. They were actually, when I looked at them, they were the same tiles as were in the garden, made the garden path. So there was nothing. It was just like her bedroom was built on the garden. So he had to put in a damp course in that room, and cost him a lot of money. And he also replaced some of her clothes and her wardrobe, which were all totally ruined by all this mould and damp. This is Naples yellow. So after that, she moved out quite soon after that, found a little place of her own, rented with a friend, a girlfriend, and he put the rent up to £600 a month. Now, if you think about today's terms, like my flat next door, my flat, not my flat, I don't own it, the flat next door is a 2-bedroom flat. 1 small room, 1 big room, little ensuite bathroom, teeny kitchen, lounge diner, cloakroom. It's probably a lot smaller than that place, and obviously not in London. We live in an area that is much, much, much cheaper than near London, and it's £850 a month to rent. Now I'm going to do the cake. Tappy nails, let's have a think. I'm going to start with a bit of a yellow. I'm just going to do it a bit differently. Let's start with the light yellow ochre and see what we can get. Put some brown on after. Let's put a little light yellow bit. So it was still not that expensive, but if you think about the fact that it tripled, in our minds that was a lot. I mean, considering our income then was higher, than it's ever been, even since we moved, because I had a well-paid job. This is raw umber, as did husband. Our joint incomes were more than we're earning now, but things are expensive there, and we used to eat out and go out and, you know, do stuff. Don't do that now, we're too old. Oh, don't do stuff. No, we used to, when you have kids, you change how you spend, really, don't you? But we decided we wanted to buy, and also my husband was then working in London and working from home 4 out of 5 days a week, so he only had to commute once a week to London, and he could do that from here, which is this house here, which we bought then in 2001. We bought this house, we're still here. I'm gonna get some dark sepia. I want to do a few little bits and bobs. So remember I said I wanted to put a little bit of shadow on the sides of the cupcake case. I'm going to do that first. So I'm putting a little bit more right on the edge, and I'm just going to fade it in a tad. Yes, we've been in this house a long time, and we moved here, and what was funny was that house was right on a canal. We used to be able to walk along the canal to town, and we moved here and we had no idea that there was a canal here, and so it was pretty amazing. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in here. I'm getting really gentle because this isn't very brightly coloured, so I don't want it to look too dirty. I think that's enough. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to use my white pen to put a few little shiny dots on our stars, and there's some drawn on there already. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the grey because it's quite pale. Yeah, so we moved to another location with the canal, but we moved here because it was much closer. We used to have to commute. We used to commute home on the weekends to see our parents. They both live within half an hour of each other-ish, maybe. And I want to do these lines too. I'm going to do some of these. And it got a lot. And also commuting in the direction we did, everybody does. They all leave London at the weekends and then go back towards London on Sunday. So the traffic was always terrible, you know, so it just got too much. We wanted to be a bit nearer to our family, so we moved this way. And as I say, we're still in the house. I could do with a bigger one, but you know, we paid for it, and that is such a nice feeling. So lucky, so lucky. Anyway, there's my Christmas cupcake. I think it looks rather tasty, to be honest. Oh, my dryer is just beeping, so I'm going to go and sort that out, and then I'll be back in a minute to do the next one, but you'll have to wait till tomorrow, unless you're a member, and then you'll be able to carry on watching the compilation video. And thank you for watching. Hope you have a super day, and happy colouring.